men who are kind of traditionally gender conforming are unlikely to sort of do a lot of introspection anyway, and so they can be particularly vulnerable to these kinds of like threats against the self. Because if you don't do a lot of like self-exploration, you aren't going to have an extremely secure sense of self, and so it could be more open to those kinds of threats. If you're an individual who's been more sort of forced to explore those things, so women or people who of other genders that are not men, essentially, or not cisgender men, would have sort of been forced to introspect more about who they are, and would be less open to those. There are also individuals on whom the manipulation doesn't work as well. So there are cisgender men who get that feedback that you're not masculine, don't really care.
I think it's worth noting that like most of the folks who run these companies and who are making these risky investments and putting the whole economy and everyone else at risk they tend to be white men. I think it is worth noting that, and we all know that that's true, but I don't think it's named often enough. So, yeah. I think a play like this, it becomes interesting to me because from what I understand, the play itself is asking us to think about maleness and masculinity and like to actually make those things visible. And sometimes it takes a person who isn't living in that body or embodying those qualities on a daily basis to step into that, to investigate it, and to find the ways to embody it, to actually like present it back to us in a way that gives us some distance. And that distance from it, I think that there's inherently some learning in there. I think there's some discovery that comes from what that person is able to explore through embodying it in a way that a person, like you were saying, Jess, who, because of who they were determined at birth, felt sort of naturally, inherently just able to possess that. What happens when you weren't told that from birth, that you naturally inherently possess that, and then you have to find it in a character and perform it? I think there's something in the discovery of that, and the performance back to us that, I don't know, like there's a different lens. I think there's some learning there. There's potential for some learning there.
Yeah, and if we think too about just how utterly destructive, specifically these men, these real men who existed, their actions were for themselves, but also for the people around them. That I find something powerful and interesting about a play that is about real men who made real destructive, toxic decisions, being performed by women in a play that deconstructs all of those things and critiques all of those decisions. There's power in that I don't know that I can name, but there's something about women, because women are also so often asked to clean up that mess. All of the carnage and ruin of toxic masculinity is so often just left behind by those who create it, and then women have to come in and sweep it back up. And for this to give women an opportunity to say, we're going to talk about this, and I have the authority to talk about this. That there's a sense to which we're saying to these women, and there's something too about them being college-aged women who are right now and have been in the media so much as victims of sexual harassment, discrimination. Many of them are women of color, and so that there's a way that we are giving this community, who is so often I don't want to say silent victims, that's not what I want to say. But so often they are the ones who are affected by it and then have to deal with it and make it right, to say to them, we trust and believe in your power as actresses to communicate this to us, because we know you have a stake in it. We know that you understand it. Because that's another one of the ways that many critiques about toxic masculinity, I think, fall short, is that there's yes, of course, we want to say that men have to take responsibility for it, that masculine folks have to be the ones to make the difference, but also then there's a way that then shuts out, like, in a way it's just another reification of, let us handle it. Mm-hmm. You stay out there, mm-hmm. we'll take care of it here. And that's not productive. And so we are making, I think, a powerful statement in saying, you, young women, you know enough about this that we trust you as actors to do that job.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about folks who often are the most deeply impacted by or the target of, these very toxic expressions of masculinity. And I know there's something about, like Bell Hooks talks about, like, the margins and the center, right? So, like, what are we doing when we're saying, okay, folks who tend to be on the margins of these explorations of what is masculinity, what is maleness, what is that identity, and say, like, no, actually, like, you have authority over this because your vantage point from the margin actually is going to tell us something different than folks who are centered. So, like, let's actually put y'all at the center of this and have you construct this narrative and present it back to us. I think you're right. There's a lot of power in that.